For decades, the world's best runners chased a barrier that the experts had declared unbreakable, the 4-minute mile. Physiologists theorized it sat at the edge of human capacity. Some voices of the era went further: the heart could burst, the body simply wasn't built for it. Runner after elite runner approached the line and fell short, and every near miss thickened the consensus. 4 minutes was a wall built into the species. Then, on a windy May afternoon in 1954, a medical student named Roger Bannister, training in scraps of time between hospital rounds, ran 3:59. 4. The wall was gone. But here's the part of the story that matters more than the record, the part that should keep you up tonight. Within weeks, another runner broke 4 minutes. Within a few years, so had a whole procession of others, and today, breaking 4 minutes is standard fare for elite milers. Even strong high schoolers have done it. Ask the obvious question: did human physiology transform in the summer of 1954? Did bodies change? No. One thing changed. The runners stopped believing the wall was real because they'd seen it fall. The barrier had never been in their legs. It was in their certainty. Tonight is about your 4-minute miles, the limits you've never tested because you've mistaken them for facts, and about the most underused skill in personal growth, the willingness to doubt your doubts. Start by noticing something strange about the way your mind treats its own negative conclusions. You doubt your abilities constantly, that's ordinary. But watch what you never doubt, the doubts themselves. I could never start a business. I'm not the kind of person who speaks in public. It's too late for me to learn that. People like me don't get to do things like that. Each of these arrives in the mind dressed as information, sober, factual, protective, and gets waved through without inspection, while your hopes get interrogated at the border for hours. Ask yourself honestly, when did you last fact-check a limitation? We audit our ambitions ruthlessly and our resignations never, and that asymmetry, multiplied across a life, quietly writes the perimeter of everything. Which rooms you enter, which questions you ask, which futures you bother imagining. The fence was never tested. It was inherited, assumed, repeated, and mistaken through pure repetition for geography. Where do the untested doubts come from? Audit a few and the sources are almost embarrassing. Some are single data points, fossilized. One bad presentation at 22 became "I'm not a public speaker," a life sentence issued by one nervous morning. Some are borrowed verdicts, a parent's offhand assessment, a teacher's sigh, an older sibling's teasing, absorbed in childhood when you had no filter, and never re-examined by the adult who now has decades of contrary evidence. Some are crowd assumptions, the cultural everybody knows. You can't change careers at 45. You can't build anything without connections. People don't change. And here's what all these sources share. None of them constitute evidence about present-day you. The psychologists who study fixed versus growth mindsets have shown how belief in a limit functions as the limit. People who believe ability is fixed avoid the challenges, quit at the setbacks, and thereby manufacture the very ceiling they believed in. The doubt doesn't describe the wall. The doubt builds it, then points at its own construction and says, "See." So let's learn the skill, because doubting your doubts is a procedure, not a mood, and it borrows its method from the one discipline humanity invented specifically for testing claims: put the doubt on trial. Take one, the one that governs the most territory in your life. You know which one, and run it through 3 questions. Question 1, what is the actual evidence? Not the feeling, the record. I'm terrible with people, cross-examined, often collapses into 2 awkward parties and 100 forgotten perfectly fine interactions. The doubt kept the failures and shredded the rest, because that's what fear-biased memory does. Write down what actually happened, all of it, and watch most limitations shrink from verdicts to anecdotes. Question 2, is this claim current? You are not the person the doubt was filed against. Skills compound, brains rewire, and the 17-year-old who couldn't do math has no jurisdiction over the 38-year-old with 2 decades of problem-solving behind them. Demand recent evidence gathered by the present version of you, or throw the case out for staleness. Question 3, Bannister's question: has anyone comparable done this? Because the strongest solvent for a doubt is a counterexample. Whatever you believe is impossible for someone your age, your background, your resources, go look. The record is overflowing, careers rebuilt at every age, businesses started from every circumstance, skills learned by every kind of learner. Find 3 people who started where you are and did the thing. The wall doesn't have to fall in your life first. It just has to fall somewhere you can see it. That's what May 1954 gave every other runner on Earth. Then comes the decisive move, because analysis alone never toppled a wall. Run the experiment. Doubts survive on the absence of data, so generate some. Not the whole dream in one leap, the smallest honest test the doubt permits. Sure, you can't write 500 words tonight, the doubt says you can't, the experiment reports back. Certain you're not a runner. A slow mile tomorrow. Convinced nobody would pay for your skills. One offer posted this week. Design it like a scientist, small, cheap, fast, and definitive enough that the result actually counts as evidence. Then, this is crucial, let the data overrule the doubt. Sometimes the test will partially confirm a real limitation, and that's fine. Real limits deserve respect, and now you'll know its actual location instead of the fear's estimate, which is always drawn too tight. But most of the time, ask anyone who started running these experiments, the report comes back the same way. The wall wasn't where the doubt said. It wasn't anywhere. It was fog impersonating stone, and one small walk straight at it was all the disproof it could withstand. A word about the doubt's favorite defense, because it will come up. I'm not doubting, I'm being realistic. Realism is a virtue, and it has a test. Real realism is specific, current, and evidence-based, and it produces plans. Given X, my best route is Y. The imposter resignation wearing realism's coat is vague, stale, and evidence-free, and produces only exits. People like me can't, so why try? One opens problems for solving, the other closes them for comfort. And be honest about the comfort, because it's the engine underneath. Every untested doubt is protection from effort, from risk, from the exposure of a real attempt. I can't is finished, safe, nothing further required. Maybe I can is a summons, and part of you knows it, which is exactly why the doubts get waved through unexamined. Inspection would obligate. Here's the final image, carry it with you. Somewhere in the future is a version of you that did the thing, started it, learned it, built it, became it. That version exists as a genuine possibility tonight, the way sub-4 miles existed as pure physiological fact, for years before 1954, real, available, waiting, while an entire generation of the fastest men alive ran slower than their bodies allowed, held back not by their legs but by a number they'd all agreed to believe. You are right now running slower than you're built for, somewhere. Not everywhere. Somewhere specific. And you know the doubt that's pacing you. So this week, put it on trial. Evidence, current, counterexamples. Then design the small experiment and run it straight at the fog. Doubt is inevitable. Every runner on that track felt it. But doubt was never entitled to your automatic belief. Make it show its evidence, like everything else that wants to govern your life. Your legs were never the problem. Run,